What's the difference between a 700 ELO and a 2200 ELO player? We're about to find out. My opponent is actually recording this game at the same time that I am, and we're going to flip back and forth between his thought process and my thought process so you can see exactly what the difference is. Big thank you to Jackson for playing this game against me.
My opening theory is not terrific. I don't even know if there is a theory. It's just kind of put pieces in the center of the board. Oh, this is the Rui Lopez, I think. Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
And he goes for bishop to b5. Now, this is the Rui Lopez, and the main line here would be either a6 or knight f6 is another popular one. I like to play knight to e7. This is called the Cozio defense. I've been experimenting with this the last year or two. Probably not a year, actually, like last several months. I don't know exactly when I started playing it, but especially at the higher level, they know like lots of theory, they know lots of opening lines and traps, and I don't want to fall for that. So I was trying to find like an offbeat kind of a sideline to play, and this is the one that I ended up on. I've studied it a little bit. It's just different than what the normal moves are. The knight usually jumps over to g6, which is not where the knight normally sits.
Okay, he moved a knight there. I've never seen anyone do that I've played. Okay, we got castling available. You know, that seems like a good idea. Let's go ahead and castle.
And that's what I'm going to do now. And because it's at a different square, instead of the knight being on f6, it just makes the position different, right? Like all of the tactics that maybe normally work are going to be slightly, different. And so it's basically for surprise value, essentially, is why I do this.
So I could take his bishop here and then damage his pawns, which could be cool, which could be dope. I feel like he is cooking something, because he obviously didn't want that knight here. He wanted it there for whatever reason. Probably some next level strategy that we don't know about. Let's go. Let's move the knight here. Let's just get the knight in the game. Develop some pieces.
Okay, he goes knight to c3, also a good move. Not quite as common, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I believe I'm going to develop my bishop to c5. Now, a lot of times I wouldn't do that if like the pawn was on c3, because then I'm going to get chased around at some point. But since there's no pawn on c3, I think bishop c5 makes the most sense as far as where do I want to develop this bishop to. Bishop e7 is kind of the other square and then castle, but yeah, I am going to go with bishop c5, be a little bit more aggressive since I don't have to worry about the, losing the tempo with d4. Because if he plays d4 now, I have 1, 2, 3 pieces. I could just take that. If he tries to eliminate the knight, I take back this way and it opens up the queen, and I still have 1, 2, 3 pieces, right? And so you can't really play d4. The other thing that's nice about the Cozio is when the knight's on g6, it defends your e5 pawn. So if he trades here trying to win a pawn, well, it's already defended. I don't have to worry about it. So, and sometimes you can also use this knight as an attacking piece in kind of a weird way, right? Instead of the typical knight to g4 idea that everybody is familiar with, you have the option of going to either to f4 or to h4.
Okay, wow. So, pressure on the pawn. The f2 pawn. I don't think that needs to be addressed. I would like to get this bishop out in the wild. And we can open it up with this. And then it'll give us some movement on the back rank so we can get our other pieces moving too. So we'll do that.
He plays d3, which is a good move. He wants to just let his bishop out. And I believe now is the time to castle. Now I expect maybe he will play like bishop g5 and attack my queen. I could play f6, gain the tempo. Yes, there's a check, but I'd be able to tuck my king in the corner, and I don't see that being much of a problem. So because of that, I'm pretty sure I'm going to just go ahead and castle here.
I could go here and attack the queen, but then you just move the pawn up. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, he is safe and sound back there. Let's go here. Let's move the queen to d2. So that we can move the bishop to e3 and fight that. And then we can move the queen up, get our queen in the middle of the board if he takes. But then, again, we can't be selfish. We need to figure out what he wants. You know what? Let's do this anyway. Queen to e2. And then our next move will be bishop e3. If we don't have to react.
Okay, queen to e2. So, of course, I want to just consider like what happens if I attack the queen. So, like knight to d4, knight to f4. He's just going to trade, and I don't really see how that helps me too much. Knight to d4. He's probably also going to trade. I could recapture here, chase the knight around. Maybe it moves here. Maybe it moves back somewhere. Does that really help me? I don't think so. I think I want to probably try to get this bishop out, maybe pin the knight, and then this is a much more powerful move. So d6, d5 doesn't really make sense. Why would I lose a pawn for free? So I think d6 is the move. Just let's do a quick blunder check. Am I hanging anything? If he takes here, I'm going to take. This is not going to get trapped. Nothing else is hanging. Let's play d6. And now we're threatening bishop g4, followed by knight to d4, which would be a serious threat. So we'll see if he's going to try to stop this or allow me to go there.
Maybe he's thinking that I'm going to go here, because if I take, he's going to take, then open up his queen, and that pawn still hasn't moved, so we can't go here. This knight's kind of useless, low-key. Yeah, don't love that knight. Could weasel that knight up in here for just future prospects. Let's go here. I don't hate that. We haven't traded any pieces. I'm like, whoa.
I think a good move for white would probably just be like bishop e3, just developing the bishop, getting the rooks connected. Okay, he does play bishop e3. I think it's a great move because he's developing his last piece and he's challenging the bishop here. So whenever the bishop is challenged like this, usually there's three options: taking, going back, or just leaving it sit there. Those are primarily the three. Of course, you have some other moves maybe that you could play, but generally these are going to be the ones. So, you know, I don't want to take this. And the reason I don't is because I'm afraid he's going to take with this pawn. He gets control over these important squares, so my knights can never jump in. Sorry, my knights can never jump in if he captures like this. And he unleashes the rook, and now I have to start thinking about, is he going to attack me here? And so I don't want to worry about that. So I'm not going to take it. Now, going back here, what's the idea? Well, if he takes me now, I could take this way and unleash my rook over here. Is that really that good? Probably not. I mean, maybe. The third option, if he takes me here, I recapture. Now, I have doubled pawns, and I could even have tripled pawns if he takes here. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. But it gives me a nice clamp on d4, and I don't have to waste a move. And this is why I'm probably going to go with that option, because I want to use that move to develop. I want to finish my development. So I'm probably going to say, look, I'll give up this. I'll even give up tripled pawns to just get my final piece out there. And if we get tripled pawns, hey, we get tripled pawns. At least I have these files that I can work with. Probably would be able to push at least one of those and maybe trade it. And hopefully my aggressive bishop over here, maybe with the knight jumping in, is going to give me some compensation for that. Now, is it a mistake? Maybe, could be. But that's my idea, and that's what I'm going to go with. Okay, so that's why I'm going to play bishop g4 and just leave this here. There's like two things you want to think about, right? Like, yes, the pawn structure is important, but there's other parts of the game. And sometimes you can ignore the pawn structure if you're going to be winning in a different area. So, for example, your pawn structure might be the worst possible, but if you have a checkmate or if you have like a tactic to win a piece, it doesn't matter. You could do it, right? So that's kind of what I'm going for here. I'm like, look, go ahead and trade that if you want, but you still have to deal with what's going on over here and the open files that I'm going to have, and you know, we'll see what happens.
There's that Nika weasel in. That would be kind of crazy. Okay, so we kind of developed our plan. Don't know if it was a good one, but he is going to. So that knight's even more useless now, because now it's just sitting there pinned on a bishop. But for our queen's utility purposes, what we wanted to do with it, even if we try to kick the bishop, they take, or we take back, it's still going to be protecting this. So I think we should kick it, try to kick it. And if they go back, leave it alone. If they take, we take with queen. And this is a kind of a powerful square, I feel like. This D5 square for the knight. I don't hate that move. I just think it has good future prospects, but if they were to move it there, it would kind of ruin our knight idea. Usually we don't know who we're playing. So let's kick the bishop. I took too long on that. Shouldn't have done that.
If the bishop goes to e3, though, it stops my checkmate. Okay, he plays h3. All right. So, obviously, I would love to be able to play a knight to d4. The problem is he's going to take me. Yes, I could take back. He takes me. I take him. He takes me. I'm losing a pawn in that situation. Could still play knight f4 after, but yeah, it's probably not worth losing a pawn. So what are my options? To go ahead and trade or to retreat, maybe all the way back here that I could recapture with the bishop and avoid the triple pawn situation that we talked about earlier? Do I think trading that makes sense is really the question. If we trade it, he's going to take with the queen. Then we could jump in here. It's a fork. He's probably going to take me. Then I take. And I don't know what he's going to do. Move the knight here, maybe? The knight here. If he moves it there, he gets forked. So that's not good. Probably goes back here. We take this. He comes over here. Maybe I move. Okay, I don't really know how I feel about that. Or if I want to keep pieces on the board. I think I want to keep pieces on the board. And here's what I'm thinking. This just simplifies it. It kind of makes his life easy. It's pretty obvious what the next couple of moves are going to be. I don't really have any ways to trick him in that situation. If I go back here, though, then the pieces are sort of jammed up in a sense, and maybe I can actually take advantage of this. Maybe it becomes a weakness at some point in the future, and I avoid the triple pawns. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think that's what I'm going to do. And of course, if he takes me, I take here. This is defended, so I'm not worried about that. So let's actually go all the way back to d7. And some of you might look at this and say, Nelson, you just wasted a move. You could have just went to d7 right away. But I don't actually consider this wasting a move. I consider this, I've induced a weakness. And this is a bit of an advanced concept, right? Because you could argue that this is actually a useful move for white, because now he has a space for his king. There's no back rank checkmates in the future. But I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe that pawn is a target. Maybe it's a hook for later if I push to my g-pawn and I want to capture to open up the king, right? There's different ways to think about it. And in this position, I'm thinking of it as potentially a weakness.
Move the bishop back. Okay. So now if we take, we won't mess up the pawns. But if he moves the knight, we have to take and he gets his queen out. You know, I would like to take up space with this. We've been talking a bunch of game about moving this. But where could he move that? This knight, I feel like, is about to get some action. So we could move this pawn up here to stop that. It's not going to go there, probably. If it did, I guess I would just take. This probably won't go back. Probably won't go there. This could be a bad move. But let's go a3 and stop that knight's from having a way down. Because I feel like this trade of bishops is not good for me.
All right, a3. So a3, okay, maybe he wants to play b4. Maybe this was just kind of like a waiting move because he's not sure what to do. That's probably most likely what it is. I'm not super concerned. I can always go back if I need to. And the question now is, do I want to just immediately launch an attack? Do I want to maybe kind of play in the center with a move like knight to d4? Or do I want to try to prepare some things first? For example, king h8, just getting this king off of the diagonal in preparation to play f5 and attack later. And why does that prepare f5? Well, it just gets your king to a safe space, so you don't have to worry about checks along the diagonal. Yeah, interesting. We could also, yeah, I mean, f5 looks pretty good. Knight to d4, if he takes this way, he gets forked. So you would actually have to take with the bishop, which gives me the option to take. Where does the knight move to is my question. Because if you move the knight, you lose this. So I guess you would have to trade first, but I don't actually have to take. I could take here. Bishop still has to move, and then I could take here. And maybe I'm able to win a pawn or two in that situation. So knight to d4 all of a sudden looks like a very appealing move. So let's think through this carefully. If the knight captures, bam, there's a fork. We win a piece. That's pretty straightforward. If the knight doesn't capture and he moves the queen away, then then I'm winning a piece here. If he tries to take here, you lose the queen. Okay, so yeah, basically the bishop captures is forced. We take with the pawn. We're hitting here. We're hitting here. If he moves the knight, he loses the bishop. That's pretty straightforward. So he's got to trade. But then we grab here. He still has to save his bishop, otherwise he loses a piece, unless I'm missing something. Maybe there's a crazy move like b4, but that still looks like it loses a pawn. So I'm anticipating the bishop just retreats somewhere. We grab here. Let's say he goes rook b1, then we could grab this pawn. We end up getting 2 pawns out of the deal. He could also go here and save this guy. Still got the pawn, still kind of messed everything up, and I feel like I would have a pretty solid position in that situation. I would have a bishop and a knight. He would have what? A knight and a bishop. Yeah, everything's pretty equal. So having analyzed everything, I think that's probably my best course of action. Of course, f5 also looks appealing, but this one is a very forcing line that seems pretty good for me. So let's just go ahead and do that.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we did say we're gonna trade the knights if that happened. We did say that. Well, but those bishops. Yeah, we don't want to trade these bishops. We don't want to do that. That's not a good move. But we can take the bishop like that, which would not be bad. Okay, he's definitely, yeah. So that was a big move. So things are going to start happening now. Trades are going to start happening. So my queen's targeted, pawn's targeted, knight's targeted. So I could take with the knight or the bishop. I think I'm going to take with the knight because I want. But then, okay, you can take with the pawn, and then we got to do something with this, and then our bishop won't have any defenders. Oh man, this just got real. This just got real. Take with the bishop, takes with the pawn, because we got to keep this knight in here. Yep, we got to keep that knight there. Okay, let's take with the bishop. Kobe. He's gonna take with the pawn probably.
Okay, and he does make the right decision and captures with the bishop. So nice job there. And I guess I'll do a quick check if there's any other moves that like jump out at me here. Like, does it make sense to do that? I don't think so. Does it make sense to throw in this knight move? That's interesting. He doesn't really want to take here. He loses the queen. Where would the queen move? And why would I do that? Because it opens up opportunities. Might be worth considering that. But after queen e3, if I tried to take, then I'm losing the knight, and I don't really want to like lose extra pieces like that. So I think we'll just stick with the original line. But it's a good habit to just pause and like briefly consider things like that. Sometimes there will be a very powerful move. In this case, I think it's just better to stick with the original plan here. As a reminder, I believe he has to take here, because if the knight moves, the bishop's undefended. So after takes, I'm going to grab this. And then his bishop's hanging. He just got to move that. Then I'm going to grab this, probably rook a2, and then we go from there. But I'm pretty happy with my position at that point.
Yeah, okay, he took with the pawn. Yeah. Okay. So maybe we do take. He gets his queen out, but then we can move this to the powerful square. Okay. I'm sold. Okay. I think the points are gonna be even. I mean, he could take this bit. He could take this this knight, which would be a move that I wouldn't do myself. So it's probably a good one.
Seems like a good. Yeah, and he's making some good decisions, by the way. He's navigating this very well. So I don't have to take it. I could also take here, which is not entirely out of the question, but then I guess his knight's going to, oh, his knight can't go there. So he could go here. But the knight actually gets sort of trapped. Knight to b4, a5. Knight has to go all the way there, which is really awkward. Unless he moves it here or moves it there immediately. So I could force the knight to an awkward square. Or go with the original plan. Interesting. You know, initially I was really liking this, but now I'm kind of... It also gets my rooks connected. Also lines up the queen here for maybe some tactical opportunities. And forces that knight to a very awkward square. Honestly, his best move is probably to just reroute like this. Then he's a bit behind in the development. Interesting. Now, this is actually a tough decision for me because the reason it's a tough decision is because usually when you're evaluating, you want to calculate, okay, this leads to this position, this leads to this position, and this one's better for ABC reasons, right? I don't know which one's better. That's why I'm having a hard time deciding what to play. I don't know which one's better. I guess what I'm thinking is after this rook a2, I'm probably going to lose that pawn. I mean, I could defend for a bit, but probably going to lose it. And is my position really that great? I don't know. But this way, forcing the knight to that awkwardness just seems really good. Let's do it. We're going to change the plan a bit here. And we're going to go with the awkward, force the knight to an awkward square.
So if he takes with queen, we just move the knight up. Man, I feel like taking this knight is a tricky move because then he's going to get a pawn too. But like the pawn's going to get denied, and then I'm going to get some movement on my rook. But then he's going to take the pawn. Okay, yeah, that could be sketch. Okay, he took there. Good. We already had a plan for this. And we have a little hole back here. Yep, we'll just move the knight there. Yeah, let's move the knight there. Yep. Yep. So we got some powerful squares that we're looking at. If he kicks it, with the, he could go here or here. We go here. Maybe try to get a trade and get our rook out.
Okay, he does jump forward. And so, like I mentioned earlier, c6, he can't go there, you 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 can't go there. You have to go to b4, and then I'm going to play a5. You have to go back to a2, and it's kind of awkward off on no man's land, essentially. Yes, you can reroute like this, but that's going to take some time, and I'm thinking I'm going to be launching an attack over here while that knight is dancing around. Let's just make sure it works tactically. I don't have to worry about a fork. Don't really see anything else to be concerned with. Here we go. And of course, I don't want to trade that because it just opens up his rook for him. Then my pawn is weak. And the knight's about to be a useless piece over here on the side anyway. So why would I want to trade it, right? So we're going to play a5.
So, okay. So he's going to try to kick my knight. I guess he didn't like that knight up there. I wouldn't either. But this is going to give him some momentum, I guess, because he's going to kick it and move me backwards. I feel like he's going to trade. And this knight over here, this knight is just not having a good game. Oh, we could go here, but then that knight, that pesky knight, yeah. That was a good move by him in the beginning. Put that knight there. Let's go here. Move it backwards. Not lose a whole piece.
Okay, so he does play knight b4, and I don't think there's much to calculate here because we already calculated it, so we'll play a5. And then knight to a2 is what we're expecting. Okay, great.
Oh, yep. Okay, now we're really hosed. Yep, he saw right through that. So now our knight is going to be in a terrible spot, and the rook is going to be completely undeveloped. So should we just throw the knight into the gutter for a pawn? Because I feel like if we go back here, it's just, might as well just, you know, I don't want to speak too soon. But anyways, let's just move it back. It could come in handy.
Sometimes I like to use my opponent's time to start thinking about what I'm going to do next, especially in a situation like this where it's pretty obvious what the move is going to be, right? There's not a whole lot of choice here for white. I don't know what other ideas I have. Those are my two big ones. I guess playing f5 straight away, the idea being that I take here and then this rook doesn't have to waste time going there. It can just go straight to f8 and line up. So yeah, really 1, 2, 3 candidate moves here. Okay, he does play knight to a2, and let's just continue with what we've already started thinking about. 3 candidate moves that I believe we should consider. Well, I'm going to start with this one because it's so forcing. Queen has to move somewhere, probably here to attack me. We can take, we come in, we're hitting the knight. The knight could just move, and I don't really have any pieces to follow up. It's going to take me some time. Doesn't look good enough, so we're going to probably not do that. Now, we could go there and not sacrifice. But how do I defend it? It's awkward. And so, nope, not the move. Okay, so that leaves us with f5 and rook to e8. Let's start with f5. If he takes, he can take back either way, but I'm probably going to take with the rook. And I don't know what he's going to do. Probably a rook here to threaten a queen trade. Let's say I brought this guy over. He does go for the queen trade. Takes. I've got my rooks lined up, but is it good enough? The knight can jump into f4, take here. There's some serious threats. His rook's going to be sitting here. He could attack my rook, maybe. No, that's probably... I don't really know what's happening in that position, so that's... I'm unsure. I think that would be okay. But this way... Then when we play f5, there is no capturing because your queen is there. And that seems more dangerous for white. Yeah, because if I'm able to, like, take here, then my rook gets involved, but white has, like, no counterplay here. Yeah. So I think from my calculations, this is the move. And we'll play f5 next move. Now, there's g4, but g4 just can't be good, right? Because, I mean, we can immediately see that everything's falling apart from knight to f4. So I'm not worried about g4 trying to stop me. And f5 is coming. And this is a good example of, like, an idea that we see in the Cosio that wouldn't normally be there, right? Instead of the knight being on f6, it's over here, which gives me the option to do this, and I'm controlling some of these interesting squares.
So I'm thinking, let's try to blow the center a little bit. Move this pawn up to c3. Because he has to take, right? Or if I take, he has to move his bishop. Because then I have this knight. But then again, what does Nelson want? This rook probably is some movement. That could be crazy. That could be pretty good. So if we started shuffling some stuff around here and the bishop did happen to get kicked, that would give me a good move to get my rook on this c file with these pawns being traded. But I don't think he's going to fall for that. So we'll see what actually happens here. I don't know. I feel like that rook. I think I would move the rook here. Yep, that's what he did. So we have coverage on that rook, on that pawn, with a pawn, and the queen. So I don't worry about it, but that is good pressure. So let's see if we can get him to move some things around here with this pawn.
Okay, good move. He's trying to create some sort of counterplay. So very good move. And I have to decide now, do I care? Like, do I just ignore it completely and play f5 anyway? Or do I raid? Or, I mean, knight f4, is that any better now? This is starting to look weak, so I want to keep that in mind. I still think I want to play f5. I just feel like I need to just make this happen right now. If I start wasting time over here, and then knight comes back in, maybe it's fine. Because if let's just think, f5, he takes me. I could take here. He takes me back. I gotta move. It looks pretty good. What's the drawback here? Then d4. I'm not really concerned with that. Interesting. Again, it's one of those situations where I'm really not sure. I feel like both of these moves are roughly the same evaluation, unless I'm missing something obvious. Which I could be. I could be. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and take, because it does unleash the bishop, and I don't have to worry about, moving it right away or sacrificing it right away. So go ahead and take in an effort to not run out of time. And then we'll play f5 next, most likely.
Yeah, okay. I guess this is a chance to get our... So this is a chance to get our knight back in the game. If we do that, our rook is still undercover. So we're not going to do that. Do this. We're going to take with the pawn and give our rook rook an out. Could stack this rook too. I don't hate that either.
Okay, so he captures back. There's a pawn, but honestly, I couldn't really care less at this point because this just seems so much more powerful to me. So, yes, pawns are good, but, and I also, he might just move the knight, and I have to move the bishop back, and I lose my pawn. And so, what am I even doing? f5, it's got to be the right move. We've already set up everything for this move. We're ready to go. The queen is there. We want to unleash this to attack. The knight's ready. The queen's ready. The bishop's ready. Everything is ready. You because of that, you just know, this has to be the right move. It has to be. We can check with Stockfish, but I'm 90% sure this is the best move.
Oh, so we're definitely not taking. We're definitely not taking that pawn. We're not taking that pawn for obvious reasons. We could kick this bishop. we could give this knight an intro to the game. Go here, take it with the knight. Either kick the bishop or move the knight. Oh, wow. Yep, he's got me good. Let's just not react. Let's not react. Get our rook over here. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. If he takes, I take with the pawn. Then he only has the rook to look at it. Then I can just take the rook, which he wouldn't just do that. And if I move this here, he can kick it with his pawn, which would be useless. And then he would just take the pawn and have eyes on my queen, and I have to move my queen somewhere terrible.
All right, so he goes rook b1. He's attacking here, but like I said, I'm not really concerned with that. It's already defended, and I think we need to continue the attack. The question is, what's the best way? I'm pretty sure this is it. Why? Because I want to open up the rook. If I push, I block my own rook. I block my own knight. And what's my pawn going to do? It's just stuck, right? So this has to be the move.
So he took the pawn. I will take back the pawn. Yeah. So then he has eyes with the rook. But he's not going to trade the... He's not just going to give me a rook for a pawn.
No reason to really waste time there. I want to save my time for this next phase of the game, right? Like now. Now is when we start thinking about sacrificing something. For example, because if the pawn takes, queen comes in, looks like we're going to get checkmate. The issue would be the queen taking. I don't think I'm going to sack it just yet, but it's definitely on my radar. Knight f4 gains a tempo, attacks the queen. There's a check, but we could slide over. And then we could stack here because now the rook is involved. Yeah, so this seems to be the move. Is there any other moves that I want to consider? You know, something like this to stop the queen, but nah, I don't think so. Let's go here. And notice it's important that everything's defended. This is defended, this is defended, this is defended. So I'm not at risk. I already talked about it. I'm not at risk from a fork because my pieces are defended, right? So I'm expecting queen check. We're going to go king h8. Guess we have to watch out for some smothered mate ideas, but I have the rook and the queen defending, so the knight can never really go to f7, and so we are fine. But if my queen was like back here, and the knight jumps in and the queen comes here, that's a smothered checkmate pattern that I definitely want to pay attention to, right? I could lose the game, but like I said, we're good because we've got it covered.
This could be a real problem. So if he goes here, he can go here. Here, check. Oh, is he trying to checkmate me? Uh-oh. We have a check. We do have a check. But what can we do with it? So we could go here. We can move our king up. Yeah, let's go. Let's do a check. Let's make a check. I'm down to trade the queens. If you know me, you know I like to trade away the queens. So let's give a check. Stop that, because that looks terrifying. Oh, he's moving fast now. Oh, yeah. It's getting real.
Okay, he does go for the check. I don't want to play d5, even though it looks like I gain a tempo because I lose the bishop. So let's go king h8. I mean, actually, I guess you could say there's an argument to be made to play that, sack the bishop, and then just like go full-on aggressive mode over here. But no, I don't think there's any reason to do that. I think we can just simply do this and have a great position.
So we have adequate defense here to take, but we need another. So let's move the... Okay. Let's go here with the king. Don't know if that's a good move or not, but I don't want to get checkmated over here. Good pressure with the queen here. Can take this pawn if they block.
Here, he goes king h2. Interesting move. So he sees what I'm trying to do, except I don't think that really stops it, because if I take, you can't take with the king. It's my queen. So you have to take with the pawn, but then I still come in. Unless I'm missing something, which I don't think I am, knight takes h3 should just about do it, because we're coming through in all directions here. So yeah, let's go ahead. Knight takes h3 should be the move.
Oh, he just he sacrifices the knight, but why? Why would he do that? Oh, rook takes. You know, let's just do nothing about that knight. Let's do nothing about it. Let's reroute this knight. And this pawn's been hanging. I just now noticed. But who cares? We don't need it. Let's move the knight here. And if he targets my knight, just move it up. Get the knight back in.
And it's important that you find these little tactics like this, because a lot of times you'll get into good positions, you'll set up a nice aggressive position, but if you don't find the breakthrough tactic, you might end up just going into an endgame with an equal position where anybody could win. So it's important to be on the lookout for these kind of things. Okay, knight to c1. So I mean, the idea is okay. He wants to bring the knight over, but the problem is it's so slow, right? He's not going to have time for that. So the question is, how do we keep the attack going? Do we jump in with the rook so that when he takes, we move the knight and the queen comes in? That looks pretty good. Or do we take here with one of these pieces? Or do we play a move like this and swing it over here? They all look so great. But this looks maybe the most simplest. He takes knight to f4. Let's just make sure there's no way that the king escapes. I'm not seeing it because you can't stop this. It's such a powerful threat. The only way to stop the checkmate would be like rook g1, but then that's checkmate immediately. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead. I don't want to run out of time, so I'll go ahead and play it. Looks like it's a winning move.
This pawn has to basically stay still. Oh, man, what happened there? Sacrifice the rook. Wait. Well, I guess for a knight. He knows I'm going to take the rook. Because I'm gonna. Defend that. Don't have any discovered checks, I don't think. Oh, he could take there, though. He can take there, though. With the bishop, and I can't do much about it. But let's go ahead and just take that rook so we're not completely getting clobbered on the scoreboard. We're up 1 point. We're up a point.
Can you sack the rook here? I don't think so. All right, so knight f4. Yep, that should just about do it. Because you can't stop this, right?
If that means anything. Okay. Why did you do that? Our king is on an island over here. That's definitely not ideal. Okay, you want to do a checkmate. Okay, that's what you want to do. He saw right through me. Should I go up here with the king? Okay. If I go back here, I think I'm toast. I think it's ball game. It might be ball game either way. Let's move it up. Let's move it up.
You go back, I'm going to go there anyway. If you move the rook, checkmate. If you... The only move would be here, but like I said, we already talked about it. Rook to f8. King is cut off. Queen here, you have to run this way. Check. Let's see here. And then... Oh, there's a pawn. I can't go there. Okay. Here. Yeah, there's the checkmate. So it's a little tricky, but it's there. And sometimes you don't even have to like see all of that. Like I see the checkmate, but even if you didn't see the checkmate, you could maybe go on your instinct of like, look, if his king has to go to g3 and my queen and my knight and my rook and my bishop are all going to be around it, it's one of those assumptions that you can make. Like, there's got to be a checkmate. Okay, he does go for king to g3. So I trust my calculation enough that I'll go ahead and just go forward with it.
King is not safe. The king is unsafe. Okay, he gave me the and then the rook's hanging. Well, no, it's not. Covered by the king. Queen. Okay. Okay. Now this rook can move. But the king is hanging. We must not forget that. Oh, yep. Yep. Okay. Yep, this is bad. This is real bad.
But just to recap, we got rook f8, which is a key move here to kind of deliver the final blow. And it is important this bishop is sitting here. Because if that was an escape route for the king, all of a sudden becomes much more difficult to checkmate, right? Imagine if I went check, he goes here, I would check, he's just starting to run, But since he can't, we'll go rook f8.
Really? Is that our only move? He cut off the escape. Wow. That's crazy. Should we sacrifice the queen? I don't think it even matters. I don't think it even matters. Is this a pawn checkmate?
I guess I will do the pawn. This one, he escapes that way. Yeah, so I just was trying to make sure I didn't miss like a mate in one, but I don't see it. So we'll go h6.
Nope. Nope, we got no movement. Oh man, the end is the Nelson.
King here, rook f6, like I mentioned, should do it. Defended, defended, defended. You can't go there, you can't go there. All right. Good game. Well played, Jackson. He played very well that game, I will say.
Great game. Thank you for that. I needed to be humbled terrifically. That was dope. That was dope. Yeah, I mean, out of nowhere, got me good.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a conversation after the game, discuss it a little bit, look at what Stockfish had to say. I'm going to do that over on his channel, so I'll link it in the description. Make sure you go check it out. Big thank you to Jackson for playing this game against me. Hope you guys enjoyed that and learned a thing or two. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.